Turn on. There it is. Hello. 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 Let me fix this. Bluetooth. Hello, Bluetooth. There we go. Oh. Oh, man. Perfect. Good. That. This. Yes. Alrighty. Alright, I need to switch this. Boom. Volume off. Good. Get my chat set up here. Good. Let me turn off. Oh, son of a. Need to turn that off. Dang it, Bobby. There we go. All right. Oh, no, not that. I don't care about that. There we go. Boom. Okay. Hey, Gerald, how you doing? Good to see ya. Good to see ya. I am working on one of your pens as well. I'm just going to end up remaking it. That way I don't have to do anything else. It's just going to be remade. I got it at a good point at the moment. Let's see. Boom. There we go. All right. So, I'm just remaking it, man. I hate that that is what ended up happening again. But the sizes that I was drilling it initially was a little on the larger side for the cap, and then another thing with the white in particular is sometimes it does a little bit of a weird thing. I mean, obviously not a concern of yours, but just kind of keeping you privy to what's going on. And then I ended up making I made a different section, but I do have another of the other section that it needs to be a part of. So, whoop, here we go. So we'll be making it out of this. But it will probably get finished up closer to the well, after the DC show. So, yep. But yeah, that is the plan with that. Oh, I'll show you a couple other things I've been working on. You may have seen it. You may have seen it already, but this is the Bic pen. This is another prototype again. I I'm getting closer to where it needs to be, so I only have a couple more days. But you remember a while back when you asked me how is it going to be strong enough on the thin part of the resin to post? And my solution to that was actually having it post on a shoulder that's on the inside here. Let me get a crosscut section, or a crosscut, so I can show you what I'm talking about. All right, so this isn't exactly what it looks like, but you can kind of see that this part here is quite a bit bigger than this part. So up here essentially is where this particular pin is going to post. So when I do make pins that end up posting, that's kind of where it will post. It will be a small enough diameter for it to get set there. It's not a very good contrast, is it? Well, you kind of get my drift here. It's going to post right here on the inside where it's significantly thicker than the outer. So, which was a very good question, because on the other hand, I could reinforce it with like a metal collar, but that's not what I'm going to do. I am going to make it so it will post deeper. So that's the plan with that. Anyway, this is the Bic pin variation that I'm going to do. I'm going to actually shorten the cap a bit more. And then, yeah, it'll sit. So right here, it's sitting right here. So that's about where it's going to go. And then when you post it on the back side, it'll also post at the same spot. This one in particular, my taper on the front part is not very good. So again, this is you know, round 3 or 4 of trying to get it right. The problem is this right here, where the cap meets the barrel. It's not going to focus, but it's a little bit of play right here, and I don't want it to be like that. It's a little on the sloppier side, even though it won't come off, right? It won't come off, but it's a little sloppier than I want it to be. So anyway, that was the 4th or 5th prototype of that. And then another thing that I've actually figured out, totally figured out how I'm going to do it. This is the parallel pin. So you can see that the threads are actually, they look kind of long. It looks about a 7 or 8 millimeters or so. Let me measure it actually. It looks to be about 7 or 8 millimeters. 8. Okay. It's about, wait. I guess it's actually in between 7 and 8. So it's a 7.5 millimeter. You might not be able to see it, but it is about 7.5 millimeter for the tenon here. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I wanted the front part of the tenon here to kind of go into the parallel pin section, because I want it to be comfortable on the back side here. The other option that I was, well, the other, I guess, variation. I did 3. I did more than 3, but these are the 3 variations I'm kind of in between. Crap! I grabbed one that didn't have a parallel pin section in it. Come on now, where are you at? Oh, that's why. All right, so let me take this parallel nib out, put it in here. So you can kind of see that the step on it was a little bit more drastic, where it came down and then it's like a very drastic step out and then back down for the threads. And I didn't like that very much. It didn't seem very comfortable when I was thinking about it. Like, it probably wouldn't really interfere with anything, but I would like for this to be tapered a bit more and then go into the threads. But on the other hand, I didn't want the cap too long. So this is one where I think the cap might end up being too long. But I did make it flat, completely flat here for about 3 millimeters, and then it goes into the section. But it would make the cap, you know, quite a bit longer. So this is kind of the comparison of what that looks like. The way that I have it, the cap is in between these two cap links, which I think I like the best. So that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for that. And we'll be bringing a few of them. Some of them might end up being actually with the big step. Some of them, well, you know, some of them might have a big step. Some of them might be the other one. But I think at the end of the day, I'm going to be like an in-between where it's not like a longer flat one, but it's also not going to be a steep shoulder. It's going to be like a gradual taper up into the threads, because that resin gets pretty thin, and I want to make sure that it's strong enough to continuously hold the actual parallel nib section portion. So, am I ready for DC? No. Let me show you. Let me show you. So, here is one tray of 12 that I am working on. You can see that I've got all the bodies that are shaped out. All the caps and sections still need to be shaped. And then here's the caps and sections of the other ones that I've got in the works. But all the other barrels are already done and stuff. So we're looking like that at the moment. And then working on some, well, right now we've got some stratified with ebonite. The ebonite caps will be going with the stratified barrels, and they'll also have an ebonite section. So that's kind of what I'm working on at the moment. I just figured it'd be pretty fun to hop on stream and show some of that, some of what I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, no, I'm not ready for DC. We took a look at our inventory and we're like, oh man, we still have a lot that we still got to get going, get going on. But I mean, we could essentially go right now, but we obviously want to increase our inventory. I'm not sure if you're subscribed to, or have heard of even the Pen World magazine, but you know, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but we may or may not be in the magazine of Pen World with our you know, company information and stuff like that. You may see us. You may see us in the Pen World magazine in the near future. So we're pretty excited about that. You know, the guy that we were working with, it was really unexpected, honestly. There's a very, very nice guy, and his name, or I don't know if I should even say his name. I don't know what I can actually share. So we'll just say that we might end up in a Pen World magazine, if that's something that you've seen. But we'll probably do a post that kind of shows that being the case once it's actually available for people. But it's very, very cool, very exciting. We've been like interviewed and stuff like that. And the person actually came to the workshop and, well, here at the shop here, and was able to see some of the stuff that we were working on and stuff like that. So it was pretty awesome. I'm grateful. It was totally unexpected. Totally unexpected. But yeah. As far as your pen, sir, that one will definitely be. You're going to the California Pen Show, correct? I'm pretty sure that you said that you were. But it will definitely be ready for it to be delivered at that point. Let me see where we're at here. But yeah, it'll be exciting. It'll be so much fun when we're finally there at DC. You're going to Colorado? Oh, okay. Well, then we'll end up sending it to you via mail. And I don't know if Abby's messaged you about that specifically, but we do not intend on... we're just going to send you a new pen is what's going to end up happening, because you already sent it to us. We don't want to do that we don't want to have to do that anymore. It's pretty uncool, I would say. So we're going to end up sending you a new pen that I've got in the works there. But I don't think we don't go to the Colorado show. I'm pretty sure James from Bone Crusher does. I think he lives in Colorado. But we haven't been to the Colorado show, and I don't think that is going to be a part of our rotation of shows. It's a small show. I believe it. I believe it. I don't, like, the shows that we go to is partially based on, like, I guess, incorporating a vacation as well. And, I mean, I like skiing, and, well, I like snowboarding, but I don't think we would end up going to Colorado unless we were trying to make a trip out of it. Which isn't out of the question, it's just at where we are at this point, it's not going to be something that we are likely to do. At least for a while. Abby really does like fall colors, I will say. Bart was out at Colorado. Nice. We're actually pretty good friends with Bart. Well, Abby is. Abby's pretty good friends with Bart. Bart's a really good dude. We like Bart, and you know, he's been really helpful actually for us he let Abby be a part of his table, or at his table for the San Francisco, I believe, and it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah, you were at that show? Yeah. It's Abby really enjoyed it. I hope at some point I'll be able to go to that one. Somebody's got to take care of the kids. And since Abby's in charge of sales, you know, we have our two-man crew and our two-person crew, and Abby is the one that does the sales portion. So it was more important, in my opinion, for her to go than it was for me to go. But eventually we'll probably do something. Hey Johnny, how you doing, man? Good to see you. I was checking out your channel, man. You got a lot of people that come and hang out with you on lives. That's pretty awesome, dude. I'm glad to see that. Glad to see that. So if you're not familiar with the old file trick, the main thing I'm trying to do right now is basically just level out the pen. All I'm trying to do is level everything out to where it's straight across the barrel, or or 2/3 of the barrel, and then on the back third, it's a taper. That's really all I'm doing with the file. Because getting that perfect with the tool is darn near impossible. But yeah, that's what I'm working on now. I've got a few more barrels, and then I'll end up moving to caps. It's been a really busy time. You know what's cool too? Abby finally, okay, almost. There still needs to be a finial that's dropped in, but Abby finally finished her anniversary pin. And I know that might sound weird, but I'm not the finisher of pins. She's the finisher of pins. Let's see. It was oversold and too crowded. Oh, man. Gerald, you're talking about in California? That's why I didn't really remember when you said that you had gotten the not stratified, when you got the Operex pin. That's why I didn't recognize it when you said that, you know, when you first kind of came on here to the stream, because I didn't remember that specifically. Uh-oh. We have community that kind of watch the same people. That's good, man. That is awesome. I think it's going to sound weird. It might sound weird, but there's a part of me that really struggles with the whole the pin making area. But I mean, I guess I should clarify. There's a part of me that thinks that some people that ask questions on like Facebook, I guess it's really Facebook. When I see Facebook posts and I see people asking questions, for some reason, I don't know. I see people kind of asking for permission to do something. They're like, hey, I got my pin to this point and I can't get it any further. What do I do? It's like, well, in my mind, I'm like, well, what do you think you should do? Try that. If it doesn't work, do something else. But, you know, that's not very teacherly like of me, is it? Oh, it was 105 at your home? Oh my gosh, that's toasty. Is that in Cali? $105 is toasty. That sounds very unpleasant. Oh my goodness. What? In those chats, you'll get different answers to the same question. Yeah. And, you know, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where I sometimes get irrationally annoyed about about it. And it's totally irrational. I recognize that. But I can't... I don't know. Because there's the other part of me that knows that people want engagement as well. And so any engagement is good, right? So it's like you can ask a question and you're going to get a lot of people that respond to that. And, you know, it could be the best advice in the world, but really they just want engagement on the post. They're not going to really do anything either, and that also bothers me to think that that's the case. Because I actually want to help people that want to know. But when people are just asking questions just to say, like, when you see people on a metal lathe that leave the key in and then they take a picture with their chuck key in the lathe, they're doing it to try and get a response, you know? And that type of stuff just annoys me. Or when somebody's got really long hair, they take a picture of it. You know that there's going to be somebody that's like, make sure you pull your hair back when you turn it on the lathe. You don't want to get it ripped out. Like, I don't know. Like I said, it might be irrational, but I just think that there's people that are trying to get engagement with their comments, and so I get annoyed about that. Yeah, we'll definitely get different answers. Like that. I mean, that's also to be expected. You get different answers. Um, and some of the people that are answering are like, yeah, I know my ideas or my way is the best way, but it's the best way for you. You know, it's like, how do you finish wood? What's the best finish on wood? And, you know, inevitably, it's like, people are going to be like, oh, a CA finish on wood preserves it forever, makes it so it looks like the wood never changes, and you never have any issues with it. And then there's other people that are, I guess that's another pretty good example, actually, that I think some people that turn wood, they don't actually know how to do a CA finish, and then they just automatically jump on the bandwagon of, oh yeah, I just love the natural feel of wood. So I think CA is just like a plasticky feel. And if that person is capable of doing a CA finish, I guess at that point it doesn't really bother me. But if it's because they don't know how to do a CA finish and they're just jumping on that bandwagon. Again, that's another one of those things that are just kind of irrational, but it bothers me a lot. Yeah. But, you know, I think I've come to the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't like Facebook. I just don't like Facebook. Everybody's just fishing for engagement, it seems, and they can say things that are and that's the other part that bothers me. It's like they could be genuine questions that somebody doesn't know. And then you go and look at the person that asked the question and you see some of these like incredible pieces of work that they've done. You're like, dude, you don't know that? Come on now. You do know that. You're just trying to get more engagement. Same thing for like some of the fountain pen enthusiast clubs or Facebook groups, I mean. When I see that group, I see makers that are like posting in there. They're like, oh, my latest creation of X, Y, and Z. And then to add on to their comment, they're like, well, I can't say the price and stuff here because it's against the group's rules. How is that not advertising yourself? I don't know. In my opinion, that's just like not respecting the rules of the group. But what do you do with that? I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to do anything because it's not my group. But it does bother me. It's like if I didn't respect the person that ran the group, I would consider doing that. But I do. So I'm not going to participate in that particular thing. They say don't advertise your shit, you know? It just drives me nuts. Anyway, some things just chat me, okay? And I won't participate in those games, dang it, because, well, I'm just not like that. For some weird reason, I can't bring myself to be like that either. And it just drives me nuts. Like, in the rules, when you sign up to that group, it's like, no spam, no self-promoting, no this, no that. It's like, just share your experience and your love and passion for fountain pens. But then you go and you look at it and you're like, you see another maker that's like, oh, just finished up this set of these that I'm bringing to the DC show or bringing to whatever show. And it's like, dude, that's like advertising with more steps. Stop it. I don't know. Maybe I just care too much. Still not going to do it. Because it's tacky in my view. It's just tacky. You shouldn't be advertising in a group that says not for advertising. Just share your love for the fountain pens. And half their stuff is just people doing that. I digress. You have chainsaw carvers, hand tool careers, pen turners, bolt turners, resin. Johnny, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I love it. Old Man River. You ask 100 turners the best finish, you get 150 answers. You ain't wrong about that, dude. You are not wrong about that. Because, I mean, you asked me what kind of finish I would do on wood, I'll definitely give you 2 different answers. Because it depends on the wood, right? I could definitely see 150 answers. And it should actually be 200, but some of them are novices of turning. And so they haven't figured out alternative ways to do something. Yeah, that's really funny, man. Oh, man. You think CA is a good finish, but most people that buy pens like the shiny stuff? Yes. Yes. People that buy pens do like shiny. Although I will say we actually had pretty good success with matte pens. So if it's something that looks really neat when it's matte, then it can definitely work. I want to say it was a brown one that we had done. It was like a mocha mousse that we called it, I think. And we did one in matte brown is what it ended up being. And some people were really excited to see that we left some matte. Because not only does it look different, when it's matte, it feels different, you know? Like, it's actually quite a bit different in the feel of it. So that's pretty neat, too. Good to see you, Brian. I know I already read one of your comments, but it's good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Scroll on by. Yeah, Johnny, I mean, I try, and, well, I don't just try, I actually do, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm thinking about it. It's like, somebody asked that question, right? And then the weird investigative part of me is like, do they really need to know that answer? And then I go and look at the work that they have done as previously, and then it's like, no, you're just fishing for engagement, and that type of crap pisses me off. So I don't engage. I just don't. As much as I want to teach people how to turn and stuff and answer questions like that, I can't bring myself to actually do it on some of those pin turning and learning groups, because it's not that. It's deceiving in my opinion. Like, I'm sure that you've come across somebody that's like, oh, just made my first pen, and you look at it and you're like, dang, man, that's a really, really good first pen. You're like, there's no way that could be your first pen. And then you go look at their page, and then they have like hundreds of other ones that they've already made too. And it's like, what's the point of doing that? Why? Are you saying that that's your first one? There's no reason to say that it's your first one if you've turned like 50 other ones. I don't know. I think if you do engage, it just encourages them to do it more. You get a lot of friend requests on Facebook of people that sell wood. Yeah, man, me too. I do as well. A lot of people try to sell me wood. I will say I have bought some of the wood because it was really a good deal. But now I'm constantly getting messages from them too that's like, hey, do you need a resupply of that wood? I'm like, nah, dog. I haven't worked my way through that other stuff yet. Leave me alone. And then when you don't answer, they're like, oh, well, why haven't you responded, friend? Oh, I miss you. Miss you buying my wood. Beat it, nerd. I've got wood. I'll message you if I need more. You know what I mean? Ugh. Let's see. You go to groups to advertise. Brian, I think that what you're offering is very different. So I don't view it the same. I think if I was a fellow bushing maker, I might view it differently, but I'm not. And for the record, I'm looking in like pin kit groups too, like brand new turners. Like those are the groups that I started following when I first got into pin making. Like pins turning and learning and stuff like that, but it's different. It's just different. And I'll be honest, I didn't know what turning between centered bushings were, and so if you didn't mention that, I wouldn't have ever known. And so that's why I don't respond to, because the questions that they're asking, even if I think that they know the answer, I think it will help someone else if they happen to come across it. And so that's a part of why I'm like, you know what? Just leave it alone. Just leave it alone, John. It's not worth getting all upset about. And just scroll on, and no reason to spend any time there. But I also think it's really weird when advertising is acceptable in pin makers groups. They're like, hey, I've got this pin that I made, but you're in a makers group. It's like, am I really gonna buy that? I don't know. It's weird to me. Because you are a maker as well, and you're like trying to sell to other makers. Like I've come across that with, it's not exclusively pins, by the way. I came across it in the laser group too, because I have an X tool laser that I use, and it's like a bunch of people trying to get other people that use the same machine to try and buy their stuff. And it's like, unless you're selling templates, what would I possibly want from you? It's so weird. That's why, I don't even bother trying to sell to other pin makers. When I'm on this stream, I don't try to sell you anything. Like, what would I possibly sell you that you would want? Maybe a tool that I'm using in order to accomplish what you're already doing. Like, that's really the only thing that I would ever really consider trying to like sell or push on the people that come hang out with me. Like, it's so weird. Because it's a Maverick Workshop is about making pins and about, sharing different ideas and showing how processes happen and stuff like that. It's got nothing to do with trying to sell you a pen. Now, if you do happen to want one of my pens, that's fantastic. But that's never what my target is. I don't know. It just feels weird. Go? Perfect. Anyway, I digress. Huge Elvis, how you doing, friend? Sorry, you were here like 5 minutes ago, and I just was still on my rant. But it's good to see you, buddy. I'm trying to crank out, you know, trying to make some good progress on what it is that I'm working on. Well, you started grinding nibs, your own italic using a whetstone in June. Whoa, Gerald, that's awesome. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that. That'd be cool. You started grinding your own nibs. That's cool. I actually reached out to some of the nib meisters and was like, "Hey, you wanna teach me like the basics of nib grinding or tuning?" And one of them was like, "I've only been doing nib tuning for 6 years. I'm still learning." And I'm like, "I'm not trying to take over your gig, dude. I'm just trying to like learn a little bit from you because you have 6 years of experience. I'm not opposed to paying you for your time. That's not what I'm talking about, you know. I don't know. A little weird, but you know, some people are protective of their craft, and I understand that too. And there's a part of me that's protective of what I do, but after doing some of this, I'm like, why? Why would you want to do this to yourself? But that's really cool, Gerald, that you started grinding your own nibs. I've played around a little bit with the different tuning and stuff like that. I've got like micro mesh pads that I'll do like swirlies on to try and make it so the nib just glides, like it just goes across the paper with just effortless, just beautifully. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure to you that makes sense, but I'm not sure to everybody that would make sense. But when you run your nib across paper and it just like it feels like it has very little to no resistance. That is, I don't know. There's something very special about that to me. It feels so nice. No matter what answers you give, someone will disagree. I mean, Johnny, you're right about that. Somebody will disagree. I mean, I went back and watched a video that was somebody reviewing one of my stratified pens, and one of the comments is like, they didn't think that it would be, or they said something to the effect of, I don't think that price is actually worth what it is. And you know, that's actually been eating away at me today. I've been thinking about that all day because I watched it this morning. But you know, at the end of the day, if you don't like it, it's not for you. Like, if you're interested, if you want to know, we actually sell our stratified pins for $400. And I was thinking, you know, should I even bother telling people how I came up with that number in the first place? But I don't feel like I need to justify anything. But honestly, I'll go ahead and be transparent. Why not? And I even saying that number. I was telling my dad this story earlier today, actually. The first stratified pin that I made, I broke quite a few of them when I was making it. And then I showed it on Instagram, and somebody was like, "Oh man, that is awesome. Can I buy it?" And then I was at my kid's soccer game. I can even tell you where I was. I was at one of the YMCA's at my kid's soccer game. And Abby was like, "Hey, John, somebody is interested in buying one of your stratified pins." And I said, "I only have one. So what do you want to sell it for?" I said, "I didn't intend on selling it. It was a prototype." And then what I ended up doing was saying a number that I figured that they would say no. Like, I fully expected them to be like, "No, pass." And so that's kind of how I came up with the price of my my stratified. Like, we like stratified. We liked that. We thought it was so cool. And that really was kind of the origin story of why we make it. So all my people here that are here right now know the origin story of stratified and why it is now something that we lean full force into. Not full force, but we lean pretty heavily into. They take a lot of time to make, and the other part of it is it looks like I'm doing the same stuff, which in a way I am, but you have to prepare it differently. You have to prepare it in the first place differently, and then you also have to finish it a different way too. That way it's as durable as possible. And there are other ways that I've tried playing around with doing, but as far as like the way that we're going to offer them consistently, this is still how we're going to offer them at this point. You're oh man, no matter what answer, someone will disagree. Yeah, it's all about the dopamine hit. Yeah, Brian, Instagram is bad for wood resellers. Yeah, it is, but on the other hand, when I am looking for wood, I'm kind of glad that they're there. So that's pretty fun. And it's also like, I guess, like a memory jogger of, I was working on this pin project before, or this wooden project before that, I was thinking about doing again. That's a good incentive or a good reminder or whatever to get back to it. So it's kind of interesting. Johnny, you know what I'm talking about. Good. Brian, I don't remember what doesn't make sense to you. I've talked about like 1,000 things since then. My bad, bro. Let's see. Gerald, you just buy Jinhao nibs and start? Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That did cross my mind. But again, I just haven't. I haven't felt compelled to spend the time to do that yet. Because I don't know if you're aware, but when I do start something, I kind of go really hard into it, and it's some people might view it as unhealthy, but it's just what I do. Nib grinds are 70 to 90. Yeah. I've gotten a few done, and they were around 50 to 60. But yeah, It's definitely kind of expensive, and you got to have a grind that you really like and you want it on there. When you buy a pin, you really want to know roughly how many hours of work went into it and compare. You know, I get it. I think that's a legitimate thing. It's a legitimate thing. And on one hand, I'm like, when I'm thinking about that specifically, it's like, how many hours went into me making that particular pin? So, how many hours I spent making one pin, you know, is about an hour and a half to 2 hours, is how long it takes me to make one regular pin, from like start to like ready to sell. From a blank to ready to sell. It takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours per pin. Obviously, there are ways that you can be more efficient with that, whether you're doing like batches of them, or you're doing things that are more complicated. So that can decrease or increase, respectively, the amount of time it takes to do them. But going back to something else, the first pin I made, it took me about 17 hours. And it doesn't look fantastic, but it took me about 17 hours to make my first pin that didn't suck. One that I was actually okay selling. Now, I didn't actually sell that one, but the fact that that's how long it took me, I wouldn't charge somebody based off of me learning how to do something. I think that's a weird thing to do. Unless it was something that the particular client or customer was like, hey, I have this idea for a pen, in which case that is kind of a research and development aspect of it, which I don't turn away, by the way. I don't always turn away, I guess more specifically. Sometimes I will, because it's not something that I am interested in trying out at the time. Yeah. Let's see. That to the price, okay. Nibs are a big step. Yeah. You may try clips in the future, but you're happy buying nibs. I hear you on that, Elvis. I'm definitely like that too. I'm okay buying nibs at the moment, although I do have, well, I don't know if you saw, but I am going to be offering parallel pins. I showed them a little bit earlier in the stream, but I have parallel pins, and I did actually build a section to accommodate the nib itself from the parallel pin, because you can extract that, and it's not that big of a deal. Anyway, damn it, just a moment. If you're unfamiliar with the parallel pin, if you're unfamiliar with the parallel pin, this is it right here. It's made by Pilot, and I do not want to take away from Pilot at all, because Pilot has a fantastic product, and it's so perfect the way that it is. I don't want to change this part. The part that I wanted to change was the part that sucked in my opinion, which looks like this. Like this is the barrel of the pen, and I just think that kind of sucks, and I think it could be better. And so that's one of the other reasons why I was like, yeah, I'll definitely try to make that. So this is what it looks like. Admittedly, I do like the shape of it. I very much like the shape. And so what my goal is to actually capture, you know, the shape that's reminiscent of it. where it has kind of a flat and then it tapers down. So this is kind of flat and then it tapers down. So I really do like, I guess, the aesthetic, but I don't like how it actually looks. So that was the whole point of me doing that in the first place. Yeah. But I did end up making I actually did make a different section that accommodated this. So this part comes out, right? So I did make a section that would accommodate the feed and the nib itself. But one of the things that's really awesome about this particular section is that it has a place that punctures the ink. And so I couldn't take that away, right? Because this is the parallel pen ink, and it goes in, and then when you press it in, it has one side of it that will puncture the inside of it, so the ink is able to travel from the inside to, obviously, onto the paper. And so I didn't want to recreate that. Like, that would have been really, really hard to recreate. So I just didn't. I went along with the section that was already there. And again, like, I'm not trying to take away from Pilot at all. I think that they made something that's really, really cool. I just want to offer a different way or a different color variation of it, because it's just white. I mean, you saw what it looked like. It's just white. It's pretty boring, if I'm just going to speak bluntly. When you were talking about being in the laser group, yeah. And it's also, the other thing too is when you go into like groups of small business, hey, small business owners Facebook group, you're like, what are we doing here? You're like, you're in a group of a bunch of people that own small businesses, that they're trying to sell something, but nobody in that group is actually going to be like interested. Like, what are they supposed to do with that? I don't know. I just think it's weird. The problem you run into, many sellers at pen shows cannot articulate the rough number of hours they put into a pen. Well, I mean, that's kind of interesting. That's interesting. I'd like to hear you talk a little bit more about that. I've got my thoughts about it, but I'd like to hear a little bit more what you have to say about that. For time to complete a pen, can you add the cure time for resin? Oh, man. Yeah, of course. I mean, not to mention, like, the time it took for you to learn how to pour resin, the time it took you to learn how to cure it, to pour it, to determine, like, what pigments you can put in there, what mica powders you can put in there, the interactions they have, the color palette that it is, the pressure that you got to keep it at, the temperature that it's got to be when you pour it. You know, there's so many other things that go along with it that most people don't think about, and I don't blame them. I don't blame people for not thinking about that, because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, and that's fine. Like, I'm not mad about people like that. That definitely doesn't bother me. I think it's really awesome. You know, people ask questions about it in the first place. That really makes me happy, actually. And that's a part of why we bring some blanks to the shows, to show like where it starts. Dang it. Like, if you were wondering where a Operex pen started, Well, for the maker, I guess. It's not even for the person that made the Operex blank. But this is where it starts for the maker. The person that is buying the Operex piece, this is how it starts. I don't know why they cast it the way that they do. It kind of bothers me, but they do it. But yeah, it starts like this, where it's rounded, but it's a square block about this big. It's a square, so as tall as it is, it's also the same width. But it's just like, oh my goodness. Oh, if you were interested, here is another one. This might be actually the slab, the extra bit of the one that you had gotten, Gerald. This might be the other part of it. This one, and this is actually just a white variation of it. I don't know what the names of them are, but they sell them by the gram. So this one was 163 grams, and that's how you buy them. But yeah, I mean, if you ask me, I'll tell you it takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to make one pin. And if I was making one pin from start to finish, including the sanding, polishing, cleaning, and then like ready to sell, that okay, not factoring in the blank part, because that's not what I do. I don't actually make the blank. I'm starting from having a blank in my hand. It takes me an hour and a half to 2 hours to make one. But if we go even further back, it takes Abby probably about 30 minutes, because it's like 5 to 10 minutes of prep, and then you pour the resin, then you mix the resin, you wait for it to heat up to a certain temperature, and then you can mix the resin. That way it blends as little as possible. Unless you want it to blend more, then you have it a little lower temperature. And then you have to have the pressure pot and the compressor already set up, and then you put the molds into there, and then it takes for Alumilite Clear Slow, it takes a minimum, I believe, of 4 hours before you can demold it. And that's just demolding, right? You can't actually turn a pin out of that because the resin will still be soft. It hasn't completely cured all the way. So that's another aspect of it, is it's not ready yet. Like, you can demold it and it won't change its shape, but it's not hard enough yet. It's not cured enough on the inside to actually turn, because it hasn't set to where it's like that heat resistant. You can't thread it. You can't do a lot of things with it still, but you can take it out of the molds. That's kind of it. So a little weird, and it is what it is. Does anyone else hate square blanks? Most of the blanks end up in ribbons on the floor. Yes, so I've tried. So people have asked me, all those noodles, what do you do with it? And that's a great question. I've actually tried to melt it before, but it doesn't melt. It burns. It just burns. And the other stuff that we've done is, here's a couple blanks. This one is a very transparent. It's clear. It's clear resin, Alumilite clear. This one obviously has a blue and white to it that will become pins. This will probably end up being this has the possibility of becoming 4 pins for both of these, depending on how I do it. And then another one. This is, I don't know if you'll be able to really see it, but this has Fordite in it. You can kind of see some of these. All right, well, you can't see. It's got Fordite in it. And not just Fordite, but Fordite shavings. So I was turning a different Fordite pin. And so I was like, you know what? Let's save some of the noodles from that because it looks really cool. And then we casted it. I have made one before. One of the other really, really cool ones, in my opinion, is this. So this was pretty cool. What this is basically I took a blank, and then I cut it into little discs that were really narrow, less than 1/8 of an inch or so, or about 1/8 of an inch. So whatever width you think that is, it's about 1/8 of an inch. So I cut those, and then I broke those biscuits into little pieces, and then we casted them. And that's what we did with those. That took a very long time to get enough of those pieces because resin is really hard to break. If you haven't tried to break resin before, it is very hard to try and break with your hands. Even if it's thin, by the way. Even if it's skinny, it's really hard to break. It'll kind of just flex, and then you'll feel weak. Like, so here is a piece, and if I try to break it, like it'll flex a little bit, but I can't break it. Maybe one of these days I'll have to do a flex test to see how much weight it would take to break one. But they're really, really hard, and you know they have a little bit of flex to them too. So it's pretty awesome properties to have. Anyway, let's see, the Fantastic Blue. Doesn't Stratified take a month from start to finish blank? Yes. So each layer of a stratified pin represents about a day to 2 days. And that is also contingent upon us making blanks. So reality is that it takes us multiple months because we don't actually use the same resin that we use in what we make weekly. Let me get you a slab. Let me show you a slab right quick. So here's a couple different slabs. So here's 2 different slabs. Basically, it's the same height as it is the width, and it's also the same when it comes to this weight too. And then I cut them at about 1 inch, and each of these layers represents about a day to a day and a half of time for curing, right? And then the way that we actually make them is we specifically choose resin that Abby makes into something else, right? You've seen me turn diamond painting pins. We choose some of those specifically and put them into the stratified block. Not all the colors that she makes actually ends up in the block, but all of the ones that are in the stratified are made by her. But yes. Anyway, those are 2 different slabs. And I have quite a few different blanks that are already cut, chopped up, and prepped and everything. I just haven't turned them into pins yet. But yeah, it's partially because they take a really long time. Even when when everything goes right, they've made it all the way to Abby finishing them, and sometimes they don't survive the whole process. So I actually am a little bit rough on them when I'm turning them to try and break them. Like, actually, a good example right here. When I was doing these, yeah. So all of these right here, I was working on these, and they all started like this. This one in particular, I can tell you exactly what I did wrong, by the way. But I started turning it, and it caused this part to crack. And that's obviously not ideal. I broke it. And not only did I break it, but I cracked it too. Like this area right here, because I caught an edge when I was turning it, it hit so hard that you can see that crack. So when you're turning something like this stratified, it's the weakest actually when you're turning it this way and it's slapping the corners. But I don't mind that because it tells me whether it's going to survive the end of the process. So this one obviously didn't, and this one will not become a pen the way that it is. But yeah, I tried to take too big of a chunk out when I was turning, and it caused this piece, which is actually a standard piece of resin, right? This piece right here is one piece of resin, and it cracked. So that tells me that I was not turning how I should have been turning. Like, I guess in a way I was kind of negligent in some way, but where it cracked is like turning this particular thing, it being one piece. Like the reason it broke was because it caught an edge and it cracked. So that's entirely on me for turning. That's not on the material. The material probably would have survived if I didn't do that. You've turned some round blanks lately and you like them better than square ones. Johnny, I will say, I think that square, with this, here, let me show you actually. So this is a nib holder, by the way. This is a nib holder I was trying out. This has got Ambonia burro, aluminum, and then this is the blank right here. And then this is a different blank, but I put them all together. But I think that square blanks can look a lot cooler. You can see the cat eye or the chatoyance or whatever you want to call it. You can see it better on a square blank versus a round blank. Although I do prefer starting with round blanks as well. So, yeah. You bought a Fordite pen in Portland? That's awesome. Fordite can be very chippy, I will say. Fordite can be very chippy. If it's mixed with resin too, that could potentially be a weak point. But one of the other things is kind of like the ratio, I would say, of Fordite to resin. Kind of needs to be about a, I don't know, a 2-to-1. I'm just throwing a number out there. But you want more resin than Fordite if it's a combo of that. And that's because you want as much structure as possible to hold everything together. And then on the other hand, if it's something that's like not supported internally, one of the problems is it cracking. if it doesn't have like an internal structural support, if that makes sense. Can you use that piece for a section or cap? I cannot use it for a section. I could potentially use it for a cap, or if I can recenter that particular one, then I can potentially drill it further in order to make it into a barrel again. And it's pretty fortunate that I have a pretty large layer right here that would accommodate that in particular. So it's possible I would just trim this part off, and then it would end up coming all the way down here. And where the tenon would be is about right here. So I actually asked Abby to do large layers every once in a while throughout the stratified block, because I want the tenon and barrel to match up, so I can get part of the tenon for the threads, and then it goes out into the bigger portion. That way it maximizes the strength of the blank itself. And again, it was more of a, I wouldn't call it negligence, but what I ended up doing was breaking it, obviously, but that was because I caught an edge, is what I call it. I caught an edge. Let's see. Can you, yeah. You turned an Inlace acrylester pin the other day. Dope. You were close to being finished and not sure what to do. What I did to chip it out. Had to use another blank. That's interesting. You know, I'd be willing to bet that I could tell you if it was the material or you. If I could see it. So the way that I look at that and recognize that particular thing is, if it's a, I don't know if I have a good example. Let me look and see if I can find something. Because when you're turning something, if it's the blank, or a weak spot in the blank or something like that, obviously there are ways that you could have like turned it a little differently, but that's not the solution, right? What it could be. Okay, so I mean, you look at this part right here. What I'm looking at is the shear. If it's like, if where it chipped or broke, if that looks like a really shiny, smooth, like sheer looking thing, then that means that it was probably the material, or you dug in too hard. So this is actually a really good example. You can see that this part's shiny. When I was drilling into this, when I was turning this, I rotated my metal lathe too hard. And then what it did is it caught an edge, and then it basically took a big bite. But because it didn't cut, it sheared. And so this whole chunk, for example, came off. And that is a combination of the material as well as me, being too rough. And then once one of these corners broke, I advanced it a little bit more than I intended to, and so it caught another portion and caused those two other portions to shear too. So you can take a look at it and determine kind of what caused that in the first place. And so it's really interesting because I don't know if I've said this or been very like abundantly clear about it, but I always blame myself personally, not my tools, for mistakes. And I always start at that point. Tools / materials, by the way. I don't blame the tools or materials. I blame myself first, and then I kind of like mentally note that type of thing. And then over time, if I come into that particular thing again, I'll know that, you know, maybe it was me, or maybe it was the blank, or maybe it was the other thing. Another example, actually. Let me go take a gander. Aha! Here we go. I've got this one right here. So this was actually a custom that we were doing. It's got dye on it. But this was a custom that we were doing. And when I was drilling it, I noticed that my drill bit was causing the Jacob's chuck to go like wah, 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 wah. So it was kind of like, it wasn't drilling center. So it wasn't staying flat. It was causing the drill bit to go back and forth. And so I blame my technique. I blame the way that I was doing it. And so I got another blank. I tried it again, and it did the same thing. Now, when I take a look at this one in particular, I can see that this, you can see that this side is thicker than this side over here. Now the drill was actually like wobbling towards the thinner side, and that's partially because this, you see how my fingernail is, it doesn't want to focus, but I can actually stick my fingernail into this pink spot and pull it out with just my fingernail. So if you know anything about drilling or anything about pressure in general, really, what do we know about pressure? It's going to take the path of Gerald, that's a good point. And again, personally, I chalk that up as a learning thing, and I would not, I wouldn't charge someone for that particular thing. And yes, path of least resistance. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. You know, when pressure is trying to escape, it's going to take the path of least resistance. And same thing for anything. It's always going to take the path of least resistance. And for the drill bit, in that case, because the resin was softer on that like pastel pink side that I was showing you, it was favoring that side, which caused it to be offset, which was a no-go. And so Abby ended up having to remake those blanks. Right? So it's interesting. There's a lot that you learn, even after you've been doing it for a really long time. And that's really another part of why I love turning as much as I do, is because there are like general rules, and then there's constant rules, and then there's like specific rules. And I don't know, I guess I just like rules. Because when I'm turning something like that, I knew what it was, because I knew that it wasn't my turning style. I knew that it wasn't my drilling style, because I had been drilling other ones at the same time, except that one was different and I didn't change anything else. And so it's like, what's different here? And so it was the actual resin itself. That spot was weaker, and that's partially because of how the resin blank was made in the first place. But again, I always blame myself first. Sounds like Johnny does too. You blame yourself first, and then you try and determine what it was, and kind of work your way through what it was that happened. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'll always blame something that I have control over first, that I personally have control over, which is my turning, right? I have control over my turning. I have control over my drilling. I'll blame things that I have control over first, and then I'll move from there. Not the proper glue up? Yeah, for sure. The proper glue up is also an important part of it. There could be a weak point in that particular glue up, or the glue, had an air bubble or something that, like an air pocket that created a weak point. But yeah, absolutely. And then when you're working on wood too, like, you can't predict, like, some pieces of wood you can't predict, like, it having a knot that isn't visible from the outside. Like, it's just not possible. You don't have X-ray vision. One sec. Let me grab this one's body. So pretty interesting. Like, I think of this as like nerdy stuff. I think of it as kind of a nerdy thing, but I like it. I like this kind of stuff, and it really brings me great joy. Figuring out, problem solving, and then troubleshooting. So we're at 1425. We're going to bring this to an extra 1.5. There we go. So we're almost there with that one. So we're going to take this down just a little bit more, and then we'll match up everything else to be on par with that. But I just enjoy how, like, nuanced everything can be, and how complicated it can be, and it might sound kind of weird to somebody that's like, I just want an easy thing. I just want something simple, man. I want it to just work. Which, you know what? I also like things that just work, but on the other hand, I want to improve. And so when I encounter things like that, I'm like, oh yeah, this is an opportunity to learn something a little new.
Yeah. Yes, the path of least resistance. This blank in particular, I thought was really interesting looking. Abby was like, "Oh, it didn't turn out how I wanted it to," but I was like, "But it looks cool." So I threw this into the whole rotation that I was working on. Here to here, you can feel very, very minor. I want it to go to flat there. And then I'm estimating, but I'm pretty sure that the actual depth that it goes to when I drilled it is about right here where my fingernail is. So I can't take that much smaller than about 3/8 of an inch, because that'll mean that I am getting to the inside of the pin, and we do not want that. We need the wall thickness to be sufficient to not just break. So that's a part of why it is the way that it is. Perfect. All right. And then from here, what I do is I just bring it up, back that off, and it's left with a little bit more of a nipple here. And the reason I do that is because I'd rather it break on the opposite side. Let's see if I can find that piece. So that's actually not the right one. All right, well, if I, oh, is that it? No, that's not it either. Anyway, I want, if it's going to break, I want it to break on the top side, or the part that's not a part of the pin. I don't want it to break on the side that is the pin. Because if that does happen, you have to trim it further back, which means that the actual tip is going to be less tapered, because you can't taper it like this because you'll get too far down. You have to trim it back, which will make it to where it's like wider, if that makes sense. So I don't really use my tools at this particular point. I use a little bit of sandpaper after reducing the speed. Let's see, okay. So I do a little bit of my final shaping with some coarser sandpaper, kind of blending it, making sure it's the shape that I want before Abby goes to finishing it, because she doesn't really do much with the shape of it. Yeah.
Right on, Johnny. Have a good night, buddy. I appreciate you being here, man. Have a wonderful evening. This one, we'll take a gander at what this one looks like together. See if I need to do any adjustments. That looks pretty good. If we want to take a look at what it looks like. So it looks like this now, and then you hit it with some mineral oil. It's like a gray, silver, and brown, which I think is pretty darn cool. Anyway. But yeah, that's you know, what we're looking like right now. I'm not gonna lie, that kind of looks like some of the finished pins I've seen some people have. It's not nice. Not nice, John. But yeah, I want the shoulder to be about 1.5 millimeter step up difference. Yeah, that's typically what I go for. A matte finish? Yeah. The unsanded matte finish. Oh, I will actually be bringing, shoot. I don't think you were there when I did this, but I did make quite a few of my bastions. My bastions are, let me show you one that's at. It's not glittery, but this is, if you saw my bastion model from like a couple years ago, it was a postable version of the standard size that I do or right now. However, I have revised my bastion model. It still is a postable version, but it is more like this, where the cap is housing you know, significantly more, and then this, you know, has a pretty deep posting to where my target is to have the cap in this little space of somebody that's writing. So when it posts, it's sitting there. You probably don't actually need to post it, but you can. And it posts really deep, which is, when I was working on this, I was kind of thinking about, or this is kind of how I got the Bic pen idea of posting it really deep, because it's not actually holding it on this area right here, it's holding it inside down here. So this area down here is actually where it's being held. So it's not interfering with the threads at all. So this is a model that I'll probably bring to DC and show it as a prototype, but it's not something that I'll have an abundance of right now. But you know, here's just some other ones. For this in particular, some of the bottoms of the barrels here are larger than others. So this one, and this one. So these four, I'll put these two down. Well, and this two. So these five, I guess, they're a little larger, and they're going to catch at the very start of the threads.
And that was what I was playing around with, trying to figure out if I was going to do that. But I think I wanted to actually post deeper. So this is catching at like the very end of the threads as well as in here. But I want it to just catch entirely inside, which is about right here. I showed you where I cut that other one. But again, I want to make sure that it's in this little area right here of your hand when you're writing. That way, if it was back here, like if it was back here secured, this would be like kind of on the web of your hand, and I didn't like that. I don't want it there. It's uncomfortable. So it needs to have a deep post. Yeah. The section, you may notice that it is slightly shorter. It's a 20 millimeter section as opposed to the 25, which is what I normally do for my regular pens. This is a 20 millimeter. This fits a Jowo number 6 nib, and it also can fit a full-size cartridge converter. Let me go grab another one that is in prototype phase still. I've got a few of them, but I'm pretty sure I've shown you before. These are all different prototypes, and this is one that I brought to the finish line. But let's see. This is actually a 3/8 finial instead of a 1/2 inch finial, which is what I put on my stratified pens. And this is a Jowo number 5 nib, 20 millimeter section, and then it posts nice and deep as well. So this is like the miniature version of this, which I was actually working on this one, and then somebody asked me to make it for a Jowo 6 with a full-size converter. So that's why I made this one. So that's a modified Bastion. Yeah. And then these two are just, you know, a couple other ones that I was working on, trying to figure out the length that it was going to be, about different marks on there. I was trying to figure out how long it was going to make it, the diameters I was going to make it, stuff like that. So, and this is kind of what I ended up with, because I wanted a little bit thicker than some of these. These are really, really thin. These are M12 by 0.8. So this one is a let's see. Yeah. Okay. This section is actually 15 millimeters long because the Jowo 5 is a little bit shorter. So this is a 15 millimeters. This one's 20 millimeters. You can see the difference there. And then this converter is actually a Kaweco converter that fits for this particular one. And this is one of my personal pocket pens, pocket fountain pen. Yeah. But yes, so those are some of the other ones that I've got in the works. And I like to show stuff that I've got in the works because, you know, in my opinion, it kind of shows that you're progressing and that you're working on other stuff too. And I think that that's valuable. That's really important to show that other things that I'm working on, because of, you know, for like a longevity standpoint, I want to show that I am, you know, looking towards the future stuff. I am trying to do stuff that's different, stuff that is a bit, you know, not what normal, not typically what other makers are doing, stuff like that. I want to show those things. This particular pen, my favorite
my favorite type of pin is the Kaweco Sport, if you didn't know. And so this is actually, this design, I guess, is kind of inspired by that. I'm just doing it a bit differently. And then again, the particular size this one is because somebody wanted me to make it a size that would accommodate a JOWO number 6. But I was working on it as a JOWO 5 to start. But yeah, Abby pointed out that the blanks that I chose for this were probably not very good because they all have sparkles in them, which requires a little extra attention to get the surface smooth, which is kind of a bummer. But on the other hand, I was doing it for repetitions of it, not as a product to offer people. So I was using blanks that we didn't actually intend on selling anyways. Did Abby pour the resin on the proto? Yes, she did. That is, we call that one black opal. That's actually one of the ones that we have pretty commonly, actually. Some of the main things for those is the finials. You know, it's a blank that looks like this. Let me get another blank actually, because this one's already turned and scuffed down and everything. But yes, so it has flakes in it, and then you know it looks very dark, but it also has the sparkle in them. So believe it or not, when this pin's all shiny and everything, it'll go back to looking like this. And then we put a really cool inlay on the top and bottom of these in particular for our black opal. But yeah, that's what it looks like when I'm getting progress on it. Man, memory lane. I love opening my drawer and looking at some of the different things that I've worked on in the past. But yeah, the black one is, again, it's a prototype that I show people that it is the pocket. It's a pocket fountain pen. I use a converter from Kaweco that does couple with the JOWO number 6 pretty effectively, or it couples with it nicely. It's a tight fit. It is very similar to the diameter of a Schmidt style international converter. And then, yeah, it just fits. There is actually a collapsible converter that Kaweco has that I also have that I can make the barrel portion of it even smaller. If you're unfamiliar with that, I don't know if I have one out here actually, but basically it's the plunger itself folds in half. So this right here, so this is like a converter, right? A regular converter. A standard Schmidt international converter is this size. So for visual reference, this is the size difference. I'll even take that off. This is what it looks like. This is the size difference. It's almost an inch. It's about 25 millimeters different in size. And also the volume it holds is pretty significantly different, right? But this would fit, and then this also fits. So I built it around the smaller version, but Kaweco even has another version that this particular plunger will fold in half into itself. And so it's only half the length. Meaning from a maker's standpoint, I could potentially make the barrel even smaller, even shorter, which would make the barrel about this long. If I had to guess, it would be about this long. And then when you want to refill it, that little thing spins back out, and then you pull it out or push it back in. It doesn't really matter which one you do. Ultimately, it just collapses to about half the length. But pretty cool. Black opal, gold finial. Yeah, this one is I think this is actually a brass finial. I get my finials made from Braxton from Divine Island. He's got a fiber laser, and he's the one that makes my finials for me. So, giving him a little shout out right there. I don't know if he takes on more people or anything like that, but Braxton's a good dude. So, if you asked him real nice, he probably would work with you. And a gold nib, yeah. I think that the gold nib really makes it pop. That one's actually that nib, I'm pretty sure, is actually a cursive smooth italic. I got that nib ground. I had it as a cursive sharp, but it kept grabbing the paper, and I kind of hated that, actually. But the nib has got a different grind on it. So it's got a cursive smooth italic on it. And it used to have a cursive sharp italic, but I didn't like that. Because it was like, I don't know, it felt like it was about to tear the paper. And I didn't want that to happen. But, I mean, that's kind of me being a little naive, I suppose, when it comes to the different nib grinds. Because I didn't know that sharp literally meant sharp. But it does. So now everybody knows. Now we know, right? Vinny, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man. I know Vinny was there for that Bastion pin. I don't remember which one I made, but I know he was there for it. Getting ready for the DC show, man. Vinny, are you going to the Florida show? I'm gonna have to take a look at the dates on that, because I've got. Did I tell y'all? I don't remember if I told y'all or not, but I got a call from the fire department saying that you're like, you still interested in being a firefighter? Great. Well, I got like a further like official email that was telling me the training dates and stuff like that. So towards the end of September, I'll be starting up firefighting training. So that'll be pretty fun. Looking forward to that. The hours that a firefighter works is like 3 days on and 4 days off, but you're working 24 hours. So I'm actually looking forward to it. Alrighty, we're getting close. We need to go ahead and measure the barrel of the other one. Alright. We are sitting at 14, which is where I like to be. So it should be at 15.5 for this. Once I'm done. 187. So I have another 0.37 to go. So 0.37 millimeters to go until it's about the ratio that I want it to be.
Boom. There we go. Looks looking good. Work on that little taper right there, a little shoulder. Gonna blend that in a little bit more here. There we go. Hey, thanks, Gerald. Vinny, you'll be in Orlando? Yeah, buddy. That's awesome, dude. I hope you'll make your way over to my table at some point when you're there. It'll be awesome to see you again, man. Fire department's a big deal. Yeah, I appreciate it. You know, it's funny, before I joined the military, I was actually trying to just be a firefighter. I went to the different military branches trying to be a firefighter. But then I got introduced to pararescue and, well, like, hey, you want to jump out of planes and fly in a helicopter and rescue people? I'm like, yeah, that sounds dope. So that's what I did. So I did that for 11 years. But, you know, it was time. It was time to change it up a little bit. Can't live life on the edge forever, you know? Eventually you'll fall off the edge. And I didn't want that to happen. Hey, I appreciate you, Vinny. It'll be good to see you again. It'll be good to see you again, man. Oh, yeah. Looking good. Marauders are probably my favorite to make because of how, like, easy they are. They are easier to make than the Guardians. I mean, the Marauders with no finials. Because if I was putting a finial on it, I'd actually need to swap this into another thing to make a recess for it. That way the coin would fit there. Can't wait to see the show pin. Oh man. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Here we go. There's that one. Boom. We got some big plans for our show pin. We got some big plans for it. Abby's been practicing actually something. I don't want to give too much away, but we're practicing, or she's been practicing a technique that we think will be well received. It's pretty uncommon to see as well. So I don't know if I've ever seen it actually. I don't know if I can show it. You know what? Give me 1 sec. I'll go see if she is interested in showing that. Because it's dope. It's really cool. Give me a second. Because you made me think about it. Now I wanna see. And it'll give me a second to get some water. 1 second, y'all.
One for charity or whatever. Yeah, that one. Yes. What?
Hello, everybody. John asked me to come out to show what I have been working on. Oh my god, you guys' camera's so far over there. We have been crazy busy. This happens every pin show, and it doesn't matter how far ahead I think we've gotten. We're not. We never are. And this go around, unfortunately, I had a lot of medical stuff that came up the 2 or 3 months like before now, so that didn't help. But this is something that I've been working on. It's not cleaned yet, so it's got some stuff in the like yeah, put it sorry. So this is what we're going to do, I think, for the Makers Challenge pin, or similar. We're gonna have a couple other things that are going on, but I've been working on some different techniques. These are both on ebonite. It's been hand lacquered. These are obviously two different things we got going on. We've got some color shift up here. This is all mother of pearl shell inlaid, and I think it turned out pretty darn cool. It doesn't have a section in there, but it'll just have a black ebonite section probably, unless we decide to do something else. But this, and then I have another one that's also super cool. That's the other one, the holographic one on my desk.
You're gonna go get it?
Go get it.
Okay, I'll go get it.
It's on my desk somewhere.
Okay, I'll look.
I think on my table, not my computer desk.
Okay.
It's a mess in there. I have like ink bottles just everywhere. Yeah, so this is not a blank, actually. It's not resin at all. It's ebonite, which is a vulcanized rubber, and then it's hand lacquered on top of the ebonite. So this one's not a blank, and you couldn't get these effects easily in a blank anyways. But yeah, thank you, Vinny.
This one?
See what's left from DC.
This one?
No.
Which one did you say?
The holographic one.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking
I know
about.
what you're talking about.
Thank you. Grabbed the wrong one. Anyways, I'm also going to have a few of these or similar or like that kind of style that I'm bringing to San Francisco, but will not be at Orlando because I have a lot of other things to do before, or not going to be at DC. I'm not going to have the ebonite ones at DC, but I will in San Francisco and probably Orlando. And then Gerald, I saw that. John's got it started, and that's fine. We can definitely hold it until after the show. It's not going to be done before tomorrow morning anyways, but I can either ship it or hand deliver it, depending. If you're going to be at the San Francisco show, I will be there, so I can bring it with me. Hello. Let's see what time it is. It's 10:30. And John's got a lot, like, how many pins is that? Almost like 30 pins that are like half turned for me to sand tomorrow. We have only tomorrow. Not only do I need to sand those, but I need to pack everything, both for the show and for us and the kids, because all 4 of us are going to be there, and pack the pins. And make sure that we have all of our little things for the show. There's a lot. Tomorrow is going to be absolutely insane. And then I was in there packing orders from our diamond painting pen stuff. And I just finally finished like 80 something packages. So yeah, we're tired. We're going to show up and like need to sleep for a whole day. You won't be there this year? Okay, well then we'll definitely plan. It'll probably be shipped hopefully in between the DC show and San Francisco show. If not, we will have it done shortly after that. He's already got it started and in the works. But yeah, so that's what we've got going on. We're about to have our back-to-back kind of season that ends up being our summer. So obviously whatever doesn't sell at the DC show, I do a virtual show as we drive home because John drives, and I do it from the front seat of her car. So if you're not going to be at the DC show and you want to see what we have left after, I'll be doing that on Monday as we drive from DC back to North Carolina. And yeah, that's always fun. That's like a tradition now to do after the shows. And then we'll have to figure out what we have left and what we need to make. Fine, I'll go get it.
Sorry.
It's going to be right there.
Probably.
Right on my desk. John has a case of the husbands who can't see what's right in front of their face. It's not out here, babe. It's inside. Come over here, and I will go get it. It's fine.
It's really cool.
I have one more thing to show you guys. I'll be back.
Just a moment, sorry. My bad. Can't find stuff in your mess. I can find stuff in my mess when I look a little bit harder, you know? Yeah. So, working on the caps at the moment. Yes. But, yeah. Pretty cool. Was it right where it was?
Yes, on the table.
Don't make me show them your table.
Well, it's got stuff all over it. I was saying I have ink bottles and pens that need to be cleaned, and my pens that I'm bringing, plus actual pens to sell. So this is another one that I finished and have been trying out some different techniques. Can you tell? Is it like showing up?
A little bit.
Sort
It's
of.
kind of hard. It just looks so shiny, sparkly.
Yeah, it's a very cool effect and kind of difficult to capture on camera, but yeah. So that was another one.
You gotta hold it more still. Let the camera focus on it. You're just like constantly wiggling it. Yeah. Be still.
I had to figure out a good angle. Is that good?
That's better. You
Is
can kind of
it?
see that it's like almost like fish scale looking.
Yeah. So that's that. But yeah, we cut it down to the wire every year. There's a lot of other people that I talk to that do the same thing, because it's like you always have that one more pin you want to finish and that one more thing you want to bring, and the curse of being a maker, I suppose, and making all of your own product. What? I need to go in there and finish. I was like mid doing labels. Oh yeah. Anyways, so I'll have lots of sanding to do, lots of packing to do, very little sleeping, at least for a couple days. Let's see. Sorry, the way John has the camera set up and the computer, I can't see anything that is like in the chat or on the computer because it's so far away and my eyeballs are not very good. But yeah, luckily it cooled down here some because we had a week where it was like 100-something degrees and super high humidity. I don't remember what the name is for it, but there's like a name for the humidity and the heat index being like the same, and it like kills people because it's so humid that your body can't cool down by sweating like it normally does. And it was gross, and it was really difficult to work in the workshop. And it didn't help that I now have a medical condition where if it's hot, I pass out, or if I stand for too long. So that's what I've been dealing with. That's been fun. But John's turned like 30 pins in the last day. maybe 2 days is how long it's going to take him. I don't know if that's his all-time high score or record. I don't know what mine is for fountain pens, but I have done like 30 diamond painting pens sanded in a day. It's a lot of standing though. And very little, like, you know, his is delicate work. Mine's not as delicate. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you like that. I have lots of options to play with, like the kind of base color here. Obviously, it is going to be on ebonite because that's what I'm going to use as the base, but it's a pretty cool effect, and at least for now, I haven't seen anybody else that does anything like that. That's the thing about the community, or just if you make your own stuff. Like, I have been notoriously bad about posting anything on our social media or being on the Maverick Pen social media at all. I should have been, but part of me doesn't, like, I don't like going on there and seeing what other people are doing because I don't want it to influence my ideas that I want to do. And I know John feels the same way about stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't want to be copying anything, you know what I mean?
Oh, geez. What?
Oh, I was just saying I haven't seen anybody do an effect like this before. But I've stayed off social media and haven't shown anything because I don't want to be influenced by what anybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
You're the bomb.
Well, I've got to go
Thanks
finish
for hanging out.
packing packages.
105 in Colorado.
Yuck.
I didn't know Colorado got higher than like 80.
I don't think that's a normal temperature for the area. It's been hot. It cooled down here though, so
Yeah.
I don't know how hot it's going to be in DC. Last year it was really, really hot.
It was a scorcher. But yeah. Thank you. Anyway, Vinny, that was some of the stuff that Abby's been working on, trying to improve. Yeah, improve her technique on and get decent at. It's kind of funny. This is the blank, or this is one of the blanks that we actually used for, I think 2 of the Florida show pins. I just did 2 different variations of this. This is from Blanks by BBC. And if you're not familiar with wood in general, these black spots, if you didn't know, is actually a fungus. It's called spalted wood. And the way that wood gets spalted is by a fungus. So pretty cool. But yeah, we got a couple techniques. I'm working on some cool stuff too that's a little bit different. I think I've shown actually a couple of them, but yeah, pretty interesting stuff. We always, for when we're doing the shows and we're doing like the Pen Maker Challenge, I view that as some way for me to like show what I have been trying to work on or trying to improve, or techniques that not just me, by the way. Think about techniques that maybe Ave hasn't done. I try to have it something new because I think that's a part of the fun. Obviously, we want to win, but ultimately, we just want to provide something that's like different and something that kind of captures some of the techniques that we have learned since the previous year, which I don't know. That's one of my goals, at least. Good seeing you too. Good seeing you too. Thank you very much, Gerald, for hanging out. It's good seeing you. And I hope it cools off a bit. Dang, that's really crazy. It's 105 in Colorado. Vinny can't wait to see it. Yeah, me either. Me either. We have some refinement that we've got to iron out. You got some spalted maple? That's what it is. Spalted maple. Yep, yep. And it's really cool. Really cool stuff. Gerald, you want one? I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of funny. We're kind of, I guess, kind of funny about that. Sometimes we would just rather give something away than have it as an offering, which I guess kind of sounds weird, but been interested. I guess a little weird, but yeah. Right on, Huge Elvis. I appreciate you being here. I reckon I should just go ahead and wrap up the stream too. It's been a pretty good one. Yeah, it's been a really good one. Had a really productive day, so it'd be a pretty good time to wrap it up too. I appreciate y'all for hanging out and checking out what some of the other stuff is that we're working on and everything. So I hope they all have a wonderful evening. It's already 10:35. Dang, it is 10:35 p.m. here. I'm probably going to be out here for another hour or so working on these cats. But thanks so much for hanging out. I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in DC and seeing people in the upcoming shows, and just getting to see people that you don't usually see, So it's always exciting. It's kind of like a little reunion, So that's always fun. Anyway, I hope you have a good evening and a wonderful tomorrow. It is going to be Tuesday. Tomorrow's Tuesday, and then we're heading out on Wednesday. So that is what our plan is looking like. I will see y'all next time. Take care.